Hey, it's Bitty Penny. Welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to show you how I made my Christmas cards, and I based them off these cards I made in a live. These well, they're not really printables, but they're pages from Red Lead Stamp Company, and I serendipitously, it was around Black Friday, and Ruby and Pearl released this kit and had it on sale. And I thought, well, these remind me so much of the red leads, and I only had enough red lead to make 4 cards. So I purchased this printable. And then the other thing from these cards is I don't have a lot of Christmas paper in my stash, so I used flowers, like really floral paper. So then I went through my stash to find similar paper, which I love this page from Maggie Holmes. I'm just the biggest Maggie Holmes fan. And this one. But that was kind of all that was in this paper pad, really. So I had to keep digging, and I'll tell y'all, I don't have enough. Well, okay, I do now, but at this point, I do not have enough floral paper in my stash. I don't know how that's possible, but it is. And so I have since corrected that problem by shopping at Joann's online during Black Friday, and I got a great deal and I have plenty of flower paper now. Okay, so I just grabbed some other pages that I thought were wintry-ish and would work. I also liked this pink paper, which is really loose and kind of reminds me of poinsettias very loosely, right? And here's the rest of the paper in that pack. But I'm going to take all of this and combine it and make my cards. In today's video, I'm going to show y'all a ton of variations, so I hope you'll stick around for the whole video. I'm measuring these ephemera pieces because they're all different sizes. I'm determining how many A2 cards I want, how many 5x7 cards I want, and what I loved about the red lead images, well, they were just perfect. They were beautiful, but they were also tinted or colored. And so I decided to bring out my distress crayons and do the same thing for these. So some of the ruby and pearls, which this is not everything that came in the kit. Okay, I only printed 2 of the pages, but there's a lot more that comes in this kit. And there are tinted and colored images, but I really wanted to use these. And so I used my distress crayons and I just kind of colored all around, really. I did around the edges, just adding a bit of color, and then I would just highlight maybe little details in the images. So I really had fun doing this process and would recommend it. Now, because I'm printing on inkjet paper, if you print on inkjet like photo paper, it really locks in the ink and you can use more wet media. But this is not photo paper that I'm printing on. I'm printing on like a cardstock. And so sometimes when you bring wet media to that, it can cause the ink to bleed and it's not the look I'm going for. So that's why I chose the distress crayons. If you had neo colors, I think you could use those. Crayons, if you have crayons, you can probably use crayons. And that's what I'm going to be telling y'all about in this video is like, I'm going to be showing you a lot of examples and I'm going to be telling you, okay, if you don't have this, use this or try that. So I hope you can appreciate that. I colored up the little Christmas trees, some of the dresses, and I'm telling you, it really was fun doing this. I recommend it. Go and color some old photographs, some printables of old photographs, or if you have maybe like the Tim Holtz snapshots that he does, you could color those as well. It's quite fun. This is a job I could have had back in the day. Will you tint photographs? Yes, I will. I will do that. So yeah, I had a lot of fun coloring these up and making them extra bright and special. So you guys, I made these in November, but I have so many videos coming out for y'all in this month because I just couldn't release them all last month. it's December now and I need to get these in the mail. So that's my next job. Get Christmas cards sent, right? Um, I don't know. This year I really didn't have inspiration for my cards. I didn't know what I wanted to do. I really just couldn't find inspiration. And then I placed an order with Red Lead and they sent me these a bunch of freebies. And as soon as I saw them, I was like, oh my gosh, I absolutely have to make Christmas cards with those, which is so funny. I'm so grateful for that little free gift because it led me down this lane. Okay, this is 6x8 paper. I'm going to cut it down to 4 on the 8-inch side, but on the 6-inch side, I'm going to go ahead and cut it to 5 1/4, and then I'll cut it to 4. And that way I have two card fronts that are 4 by 5 1/4 because I like a little bit of a border. And these are for A2 cards that measure 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. Okay, so the 6-inch side, I'm cutting it to 5 1/4 and then 4 inches. There you go. And that's how easy it is. For a 12 by 12 sheet of paper, I need to trim off this is the, like branding strip. So I'm just trimming it to 12. And then now I'm going to trim it to 4 inches. I'm going to make 3 strips that are 4 inches. Now I'm going to take those and trim it down to 6 inches. These are for 5 by 7 cards. So this measures 4 by 6. You will get 6 of these and have 0 scraps, except for that branding strip if you have one. Okay, so I have 6 card bases for 5 by 7 cards now, and I have 4 for A2s. All right, if you want to stick to A2 and use 12 by 12 paper, then I'm going to cut these down to 4 inches again. Okay, so I'm going to have 3 strips that are 4 inches long, and then I'm going to cut those down to 5 1/4. And what this is going to do is create this beautiful scrap right here, but I'm not worried about that. That's really handy, helpful, can go a long way in my stash, so I welcome it. But essentially from this 12 by 12 sheet of paper, I'm still going to get 6 card fronts. These are just for A2 note cards. All right. So now I have lots of backgrounds to work with, some beautiful scraps to work with. That's like 1.5 inches. And I want to show you 8.5 by 11. So maybe you have 8.5 by 11. You just cut it to 4 on the 8.5 side. You cut it to 4 twice. You'll have a 1/2 inch strip, and then you cut it down to 5 1/4, and then you'll have a little, 1/2 inch strip there as well. So 5 1/4 on these 2 pieces, and that will give you 4 A2 card fronts. Now I did mine with a border. Again, I like to have a border, but if you don't, then that's fine. And what I'm showing you there is that all these strips can be used like inside to decorate the cards, which you'll see. That's exactly what I did with mine. So keep them. You can do lots of things with those strips. Okay, my card from my live also had a book page for, I matted those cute little pictures on book pages. So that's what I'm going to do now. I went and grabbed a bunch of book pages, and I'm going to now mat these on here. So you can turn them sideways like this. I turned them lots of different ways. It really depended on the size of these little images and what the text said and like what the text size was like. I like mostly not seeing any words that I can read. It was really funny. I glued down two. I wasn't reading the paper or anything, and it talked about like an angel and icicles, and the girl was dressed like an angel in the picture. It was just like, wow, meant to be. That was a meant to be crafty moment. But yeah, I just kind of glue these down. I do trim off the edges. I'm not measuring anything here, by the way. I'm just kind of eyeballing even sides. But I want more of my paper to show. And if I just put it on there like that, I'm not seeing enough of my pattern paper, in my opinion. So I am just trimming off just a little bit. And they don't even have to be even around the edges. Some of them I didn't make perfectly even because I think that that adds to the vintage feeling. I wanted to show you this variation as well. If you don't really work with a paper trimmer, maybe you just work with scissors. I just wanted to show you that's totally fine too. I just would recommend like gluing down your picture to the paper first, like I'm doing here, and then just hand cutting with your scissors. You don't have to have a paper trimmer. Again, you don't have to measure this at all. If it makes you happy to measure it, then you would need to measure all of these little pictures and then, trim it to like your book page would need to be like at least a quarter of an inch bigger on two sides, right? The top and the side, or the bottom and the side, whatever. Quarter inch bigger on each side. All right. So the other thing I love about these cards that they had in these things that they sent me, they had all these extras, these little extra pieces. I have these labels from Twisted Paper Studios, and they're in my Merry Monday folder. So I thought, well, those would be really handy. They're already cut, ready to go. And then if I had other pieces of ephemera, I could also bring those in. I was going to show you here, my friend Cordelia said, oh, you didn't have to cut this all the way apart. But I toyed with that idea, but then I was afraid I wouldn't be able to sew it very easily. But you're right. I didn't have to cut that all the way across and then reinforce it. I'm glad you shared that, Cordelia. Okay, so then I thought, okay, what other fast little pieces of ephemera do I have in my stash? Well, I have this Tim Holtz sticker book from last year and that I hauled this summer. And then I have these like Tim Holtz, these are basically journaling cards. They're kind of like Project Life cards. I'm not going to lie, I have a video coming up with Project Life cards. But anyways, you could use patterned paper for this. You could use scraps for this. I was just thinking, okay, what do I have that I can grab really quick that's Christmassy and make these complete? And so this is what I came up with because I did want to bring in these cute little layers. I just feel like they really finish the cards off and make them extra special. Isn't this angel special? I love her. I loved all of the images. I don't know if okay, I feel like I'm the biggest Ruby and Pearl fan, but I'm sure there's lots of us. I'm not the only one. Heather does such amazing designs. If you've never checked out Ruby and Pearl XO, you've got to go check her out on Etsy. It's just amazing work. I love it. You've seen it here on my channel. I make cards with her stuff all the time and journals and ephemera. So here I'm using my circle punch because I really liked those circles on that card that had the birds. And so I wanted to replicate that. So I just used my punch. You could use dies if you have, something circular on your desk. You could draw a circle and cut it out on paper. Anything you've got, any way you can make it work. Okay, there's no wrong way to get a circle or to replicate these cards. Oh, I think this girl is so cute. And I did come back and color. It's like, I think that's her little brother carrying that stack of wheat there. And so I did come back and color the wheat with my distress crayons as well, but you'll just see that at the end. Okay, so I'm just adding these little pieces. I'm cutting up these cards in different ways, and I am using my corner rounder because a lot of them already have rounded corners, and I liked that detail. For here, I thought it was fun to cut it and use both pieces that I had cut off and then bring in a label. Some of these labels I cut off like the outside brown color, and then others I didn't. It really just was a case by case basis, deciding like how big I wanted it to be. It was a way of me resizing it by cutting some of that off. Yeah, so I'm good with this. And these, aren't measured at all. these little pieces that I had cut off and decided I just cut it based on the imagery. I just kind of decided what looked good, and I liked it cut like this. So I wasn't measuring it at all or worried about that. And it doesn't matter, as you can tell, when you put it on this card, when you're collaging like this, it really, measurements really don't matter here, which is a beautiful thing, right? So you're just cutting and trimming. I guess I'm a very intuitive crafter. I do like measurements. I most certainly do. And I had a great comment from Paula she's watched two of my card making videos now. And, one of them was a sheet load where we don't share measurements. And we don't share measurements because we want you guys to go download the sheet load and go see Call Me Crafty Out. She has all the measurements. It's her design. But most of the time, I'll share the critical measurements that you might need. A lot of times, I'm just winging it. But I can see if you're brand new to card making, you need some measurements. I mean, I've been card making since 2017, so I think it's easier for me to just wing it. Okay, I wanted to show you lots of different ways to add texture to these cards, which I just had to do. I wanted to add fabric or texture. Those first little like star-like things that I was adding on there were actually connectors from an old piece of lace. I got them in a scrappy fabric thing, and I used some of those, and I love them. I would take a bucket load of those. I think I could use them in every journal. I loved those connector pieces, but I only had a few. I didn't want to use them all up. So I also just grabbed some lace from my stash, and I liked this like maroon color. And then here I'm putting this brad in it, which I got at a yard sale, a crafty yard sale. I told y'all about that. That was like a month or so ago. And I just love the way this came together. So, but if you don't have brads, don't worry about it. If you don't have labels or a printer, don't worry about that either. Here I'm using this leftover book page, and I'm kind of cutting this down to the size that I want it to be. And then I'm just going to grab a marker from my stash and draw a border. I mean, this is how simple it can be. I know a lot of crafters don't have printers. And so, I just want to show you that don't feel like you're limited or that you can't reproduce something similar to what I'm making, because I think you can. These are some stickers, and I'm just kind of auditioning different sizes until I figure out, oh yeah, I definitely want a bigger sentiment here. So I used this Christmas one. A lot of these stickers in this kit didn't really work for me because of the color, but all the sayings did. I'm giving this the Rachel touch from Roxy Creations. Rachel always like nicks the edges of her stuff, and it's so good. It's so good. I love it. You don't have to have a punch, and that's why I wanted to show y'all this technique of nicking the edges, because maybe you don't have a corner rounder. Well, you don't have to have one. But I did round a lot of the corners, both on these bases and or these little, what I call a card front. So this is a card front that I'm gluing down to my card base. But yeah, I rounded those card fronts or nicked them, and then I did the exact same thing to the bases so that they felt cohesive. And I'm just gluing all these down, and you can see the border that they all have. And then I had different colored card bases. I found these. I've been cleaning out my craft room, like serious cleaning out my craft room. And I found a whole box of this ivory card bases and gray card bases. So I brought them to my desk, and I'm going to use them. Here I am nicking the edges of that card base as well. And yeah, I made 22 cards. I love them. They make me so happy. I hope that they delight whoever receives them. I did go back in later and added a little more to the inside. I also added these Nuvo drops around. I used it just as a string of glitter. And to me, that made the cards exactly what I wanted them to be. Just outlining those photographs with that glitter. If you could use stickles, you could use pops of color. They make pops of color and glitter, but this is Nuvo drops. Again, trying to use what I have because I've had these Nuvo drops forever and mine are starting to dry up, so I'm trying to get them used up. I hope you enjoyed this card making session. I hope it gave our beginners and our new friends here an approachable way to make their own Christmas cards this year. And for our more experienced friends, I hope it gives you a license to be more free and maybe not so restrictive or precise, to just have some fun. Cut it up and have some fun. On this one, I used this ribbon and a snowflake. Yeah, they're all just a little bit different. And I love them. I hope you guys like them too. There's the wheat. And I love these distress crayons because these are the ones that are like pearl. They have a pearlescence to them. Oh, I want all of the pearlescent distress crayons. I want them all. I love them. All right. Thank you guys so much for spending your time here with me. Thanks for hanging out. All of your kindness, all your comments, your feedback, your everything. I appreciate you guys. I'll see you next time. Bye.